Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RCGroups.com. We're here with Mike from Robart. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, Jim, everything's going well over here.
We have some good topics, some tips, and Mike wants to point out these are actual tips. We're going to talk about CA glue tips. Now, you might know CA is super glue, but it's actually cyanoacrylate. I said it right on my first
Yeah,
try.
there you go.
So we're going to learn about CA tips
Yep.
and why that's important to know about. And then we're going to work on some fiberglass cloth with CA, utilizing the tips that we're going to discuss. And also, we have a contest to talk about. So stay tuned for the contest. The cool part is that as we move forward in our weekly visits, we're going to pick contest winners, and they're going to win CA, also known as super glue, which is actually cyanoacrylate.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
said it
today
all.
today we have we're going to be talking about tips, and we have a tip for using a tip. If
All
that
right.
made any sense. So, I know in the past videos we've talked about that everybody should be using these tips, right? We give you a tip with every bottle of glue. And by using these tips, you can actually go through the whole bottle of glue, which you paid for. We want to assist you and help you get what you paid for.
And I am a guy who will use a glue and think I'll put the cap on that later. And this isn't about putting the cap back on,
Right.
but it's sort of about that. But as a side note and a pro tip, my new rule is I put the cap back on if I'm not using the glue, because if I don't, then I could literally spill the glue seconds later and ruin my project.
Yeah. So let's jump over. Let's go into that and let's show you the tips that ZAP has. Almost that Robart has. That ZAP has. So we offer two styles of tips. We have our Flexi tip and our ZN. These are both carded options, as you can see. The Flexi tips. There's 24 of these on a card, and then the ZNs are 10 tips and 15 inches of the tubing, Teflon tubing. All right, let's go through the ZNs first because we talked about that the most, and I don't really need to take them out of the card because these are basically the same tips that are on the bottle when we get them. Okay, so right now I have our Flexi tip on, but since I don't have one with me, I will go ahead and just pop this open. And here's my little trick. I always keep the little blister pack, and that's my little holder for all of my tips.
Gotcha.
So, and then also the Teflon tubing that comes with these. It looks like you guys can see that. You can see that okay, right, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. So what this is, you can insert this through the tip. I'll be honest, I don't use the Teflon tubing. Okay, so because how easy the Flexi tip is. Okay, so let me get back
That
to
Teflon tubing might allow you to get farther into a model if you could not reach it.
Correct. You get a micro droplet, and that gets inserted through the Z end, and then you can reach a little bit farther. The Teflon tubing is designed to be used with our thin CAs so that it can run easily through. If you're using some of the thicker stuff, so like the slow zapping are thick, what could happen is when you squeeze, you just blow the tubing out of the tip, and that's you don't want that, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's what the Teflon tubing is for. These tips are very nice for pushing. You want to dig into a joint, you have a larger gap, and you want to get down in there and fill the gap with the tip, and then work your way down the gap. That's where these really shine. For those of you who might be a little heavy-handed on your models, that's where these are going to shine also. So that's our Z end. Okay. You got any questions for me on the Z ends?
Yes. Why do I want to order a multi-pack of tips?
Because that's how we sell them.
Well, I mean, like, is this for if I have glue clogging up my current tip? This would be an option to
Correct. Yes.
pull that off and put a new one on.
Yes, I was being a little smart there. Sorry about that. The reason why you want the multi packs is it's a CA glue, right? It's a super glue. The tips can get clogged up if you're not diligent on burping your bottle, which we've talked about several times, right? If you're not diligent about that and this gets clogged up, you can cut it down.
And then it's too fat.
It's too fat, right? And also the Z end is nice because it does have this kind of a bulbous end to it. And so that you can grab that nicely and pop them off. Okay, gotcha. So it gives you something to work with, a nice grip there. So you can cut that down. You can cut the tip down and replace it. Pop that off and put it back on. Put a new tip on.
Gotcha.
These are actually really easy to clean out too. You being a little bit more open, it really blows out. You can really burp that bottle nicely and keeps everything nice and clean.
Okay.
That's the Z end. And it's really nice for as you get thicker, this rigid tip, because you've got a larger air hole. That's why with we talk about the Teflon is only for the thin stuff, so you don't have to push too hard. But if you want to open up this, being a larger gap in here, you can use the thicker and really push a little bit harder on the bottle, and you won't blow your tip off.
Got it.
Because that doesn't sound like fun to blow your tip off.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. So that's the Z end. Now, my favorite are the Flexi tips. Now, with Flexi tips, it is a long, you get a nice long reach to them. They are flexible, hence the word Flexi tips, right? They work great on all of our ZAP bottles. So the Z end and the Flexi tip fit on all of our ZAP bottles. I keep a stockpile of these in my drawer, and you can really get a nice micro droplet on as you're working with the glue. And I'm not even squeezing the bottle at times. You can almost just let gravity take effect.
Right. Like an ink pen.
Almost, yeah. And so this is one of the really nice things about the Flexi tip is when you're doing micro work. So let's say you're doing an accent in your cockpit, all right? And you really like the thin, or you really like the slow zap, where you're not going to go reach for like the brush on Zap CA. You can use that this Flexi tip and really put a nice little micro droplet on, or you could take your tweezers and you could put that piece down and then come right along the side of it and drop in a glue, a bead of glue. So for example, let's see if I can get this to, here, I'll do this. So you got a piece of wood and you want to put I guess that's hard to see. And you want to put an accent on it. You can just drop that in there and just let gravity take effect. And that will wick down in there. And you're allowing the Flexi tip to control the amount of glue that comes in.
And so we know that less CA is usually better.
Less is more.
Right. So you're getting the appropriate amount on while saving glue at the same time.
Correct. Now, what I talked about originally, right, is we want to be able to allow you to use all of the glue that's in the bottle. That's the big thing about using tips. So now if any of these gets clogged up, let's say I haven't burped my bottle, okay, and this gets clogged up, now I pop my tip off and I have not cut down the bottle tip itself. And that's one of the big complaints that we get from customers is, well, I've cut all this down and I've got this big gap here. And so I have to throw away half the bottle. Okay, did you use the tip? No, I just take that thing off and I throw it away. Okay, well, that's why we give you the tip, so that you can cut that down or burp out the bottle, make sure that this area on your bottle itself stays nice and clean so that you can use the full bottle of glue.
And I'll say, before we ever did this video series, I had no idea I was supposed to burp out my bottle. So that tip alone is worth its weight.
Yeah, just like burping your baby, burp a bottle, right? So that's tips in general. Okay. Now, would you like a fiberglassing tip using tips?
Yes. So everyone, we were talking about, I was fiberglassing the other day, and I would just kind of hit it with CA and hope the CA went in the right place. So we're going to find out now how to do it the right way.
Okay. So piece of balsa, piece of, I believe this is 3/4 ounce for all the technical people out there, a piece of fiberglass. I just use lightweight. I do use a radiator brush when I do my fiberglassing. And what this does is I rub this across the fiberglass itself, and it creates a static cling.
Okay.
So now I've taken out a lot of the bubbles and the waves and things of that nature on the fiberglass cloth. So I've statically charged the fiberglass. Now you want to make sure that you have a Flexi tip on your bottle. You're going to use thin CA, and you want to make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area.
Yes.
Right? So as we're doing this, well-ventilated, because you are going to get a lot of off-gassing. And what you want to do, and this is for really small projects, real small pieces and things like that. You want to start in one corner, and then you're going to work your way to the other corner by going back and forth in a very regimented way. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the tip and you're actually going to put it right onto the fiberglass itself and squeeze out a small bit of the thin CA, and you're actually going to keep contact with the fiberglass the whole time and work your way across, and just a light squeeze of the bottle, putting out a little bit of the CA each time. And that flex in the tip, you're going to use that to push any bubbles that might occur in the fiberglass weave itself, to push that out of the way and make sure that your fiberglass stays onto your piece. So in this case, onto the wood and the balsa wood. And you can see
I have no idea.
Yeah, so you can see how that thin is wicking through. All right. And that is sticking the fiberglass right to the wood in a, just like as if anything got wet, you got wet clothes on you, it sticks to your skin. That's the same thing. So you just keep working your way back and forth. And I could feel it in my eyes right now that the top area is already starting to cure. Okay. And so I'm going to take my scissors so I don't glue my fingers to the piece, and just work your way all the way through to the end. And when you start to see that it's getting to the end, don't push a lot out, because otherwise you're going to glue the fiberglass to your work surface.
Got it.
And that's it. So now this is the fiberglass is adhered to the wood. Okay. And it's already dry.
That's crazy. It looks really good too.
So what you will have to do now, this will not fill the weave. Okay. The weave will, you'll have to do some type of a filler, because once you go to paint on
Okay.
this, you will see all the fibers because of the thin, right? The thin doesn't have any, there's no gap filling with thin CA.
Uh,
So I just moved it
if
over.
if you wanted to see the fibers, like if you were doing some sort of cloth texture, that would be cool.
Yep. And it's, you get the strength of the fiberglass, right? It's not breaking. I only have fiber on one side, so you're not getting a break here. And so that's where the fiberglass cloth, it now adds the strength to the wood. So if I broke it the other way, there we go. But that's it. That's our little Flexi tip on fiberglassing small pieces on your models.
That's awesome. I would never have thought to use the tip to get the fiberglass to lay down.
That's it. So next time you need to do some fiberglassing small piece, give this a shot. While I'm over here on my little work area, what other questions do you got for me, Jim?
Well, with that said, why don't we go to questions and our question asking contest?
Okay. Let me flip over my screen's over.
All right, everyone. So last week I had an idea on camera, which is maybe never a great idea. So I spoke with Mike and I said, "Hey, I have a contest idea." We were getting questions through the internet about some of the things we were doing, and Mike said, "Hey, I would love to answer questions in our videos," and so that spawned the idea. And I will go ahead and let's see. How can I share this? Just like that, I can share it.
Yep.
So we created the ZAP Ask Me Anything. I almost called this the ZAP Ask CA Anything, although I didn't think it made enough sense. So.
Right. And once we go through all the ZAP lines, it's not just CA. We got to remember, ZAP is a lot of different things. And we're going to, as we continue down this video series, everyone's going to find out we've got more than just CAs here.
So when we were talking about this, I then had the idea maybe we have a contest. And so we merged everything. So there's a thread, and you can find it right now in Electric Plane Talk. And I made it easy for you because it's sticky to the very top. And if you go to RCGroups,
Pun intended. Pun intended.
Or, yes, sticky. Yes, that's good. And so you can go here, and then I talk about ask any ZA or any ZAP glue based question. No limit on questions. So let's say that you had a question this week, and then you had a different question next week. I want all your questions in this thread. The contest right now is running for 4 weeks. That's the concept, and we will answer your questions in our videos. Now, I know Mike wanted a heads up on the questions in case he could get things ready for the question, have the glue ready and all that. So we probably won't answer any questions this week. We're going to choose 4 winners. And I think it would be fun if we pick the winners on our broadcasts.
Sure, not a problem.
And that may be random or whatever. I'm trying not to limit ourselves here. Also, in this, I've included all our videos. So you can, if you're really into CA or you really feel like you need a CA education, you can watch our videos on each type of glue that ZAP makes. And that should spawn some questions. And then you can ask your questions right here.
Yeah. And some people are, well, he just needs to prep his questions, right? Well, yeah, because what I want to do is if somebody's got a question, we see it's a good question that we should probably expand upon. I'm going to go over to the work table. I'm going to try to put together that demonstration, and so they could see a hands-on solution to the question that they have.
Yes, and we even have Andy Coons has posted in here, a famous RCer from Horizon Hobby.
There you go. Good.
As a question. And then also, let's see if I did this. Here are some of our other feature articles. So not only can you go see the videos, but you can also go in and find out the uses for a particular type of CA, see some of its features, helpful hints, and learn more in each one of these feature articles about each kind of CA.
Wonderful.
And just to keep everything on the front tip here, we have Frank Tiano Enterprises, a link there, House of Balsa, Robart, and then the main ZAP Glue site where
You got it.
it's the home of ZAP Glue.
It's the home of Zap Glue. That's true, right there. So, yeah, I'm excited. We'll get the glue out, to everybody and get the questions answered. And like we talked about before, especially the newer modelers, this is a great opportunity where a new modeler can come out, ask a question without feeling like they like they're going to get harassed or whatever,
Yeah,
right? Maybe you feel, oh gosh, this is probably a goofy question that somebody's asked a
embarrassing.
million times, right? Or they don't want to go to the guys at the club or the ladies at the club, and okay, so just get this done and just put it out there. And I guess that would probably be a nice one if you are a new modeler out there and you got a question that just put in there new modeler, and maybe what we'll do is we'll just say, hey, this is from a new modeler out there that we could get this one answered for sure. Okay.
Right. And you have a chance to win some glue. So not only will you get your question answered, you might win some free glue. I want to tell a story, and I think I might have told this in our first one, but I'm not sure. I had bought a Bucher Youngmeister, which was already built, and I had stick built an airplane. I think maybe at this time, this was pretty early in my career, and this was a big, I think it was 70-inch wingspan, and we were flying in a sod farm. This involves CA, everyone. And the guy I was flying, Bryce Custer, who was teaching me how to fly, and we had a dead stick, and it was way up there, and surely we had enough glide path to get from this pasture to the huge sod farm in front of us to land on. Of course, you have enough room. Well, what I learned that day is that biplanes with big wing structures, struts, fall like a brick. It literally was like, and
Oh god.
I hand the controls over to Bryce, who's the expert, and it's coming in, and there is a little. It's a tree line between us and the second pasture, and then a 1-lane road where your truck might drive through. And we realized that we had just enough flight path to glide through the trees on that 1-lane road to get from that pasture to us.
Yeah.
We couldn't put it down before because we couldn't see it, right?
Sure.
So we're gliding. We're obviously going to make it, but then we did not have the correct depth perception. What we didn't see was right next to that entrance of that little road cut through was a huge stand of pallets.
Oh.
And it went from being, oh, it's perfect, this is so awesome, to it's gone. The plane was gone, and we crashed it head on into the pallets.
Oh.
It sounded like we crashed the car into a barn, right?
Oh gosh.
So I go over to my Bucher, and the whole nose is just crumpled.
Oh no.
And this is when I learned about CA and balsa, because Bryce handed me the plane and said, take it home, get some CA, and fix it. I was like, you can't fix this. He said, fix it. You can fix it. And I took home, I got an X-Acto out and carefully cut away the covering. And then I rebuilt the nose with just CA existing balsa. And I put a couple of, or some pieces of balsa to reinforce, which I probably didn't need. And then it was fine. And that's when this is the value of all the lessons we're teaching you. If you have a really nice plane and you crash it, you can fix it.
You can fix it. Build, fix, and repair.
Yes.
That's what we talk about all the time. Build what you want to build, and if you break it, you can fix it. Or if you need to repair anything, that's what we're here for.
And all these tips on using the right tips, if you want thin CA for a tight piece of wood to piece of wood, or if you need the thick for a really big gap that you need to fill, that's what all these videos are talking about. You can learn it right here with Mike from Robart giving us his expertise.
You got it. Wonderful.
All right. Well, everyone, go to that contest. Be sure to post your questions. Be sure to enter to win some glue. Join us next week by hitting subscribe. If you hit the like button, it pushes it up. More people can learn about CA and glue and super glue and all the gluing things that we're talking about here. Mike, I appreciate your time.
No, you're so welcome. I appreciate you putting all this together, and I look forward to next week talking about another ZAP product.
All right, everyone. This is Jim T with RCGroups and Mike with Robart, and we're talking about tips, fiberglass, and a contest. Thank you.
Have a good day.